So let me talk a little bit about consumer insight. That phrase I'm sure many of you have heard a lot of these days. I certainly have. The other day I got asked by a client to come to a conference. The conference was called Consumer Insight. The title of the client was the Director of Consumer Insight, and that client asked me to give a speech entitled My Insights on Consumer Insights. That was honestly a request for a real conference. And this has become too much now. We are too obsessed with consumer insight. I think there is now a tyranny of consumer insight. And here's why. It has made people think that the job of a planner is to find a consumer insight. And that's it. And if we find a consumer insight, we have been helpful. And if we haven't, we have not. This is wrong. This is not the touchstone of good planning. JWT planning provides huge value in lots and lots of different places. It provides value in understanding the upstream business issues, provides value in understanding the brand and the future for that brand. It understands how to inspire creative people and judge work, and it understands how to measure effect. And all these things are valuable, and we must not reduce down what our planning is to one thing, let alone consumer insight. Many of you will have heard things dressed up as consumer insights when they are extremely uninsightful. They're consumer obvious. And that's why I like the word that's been used at JWT for some time, which is not insight, but discovery. And I think this is more helpful because it makes us look for things that really are not obvious, things that previously really were covered up. But also our discoveries are not limited to just the consumer. We look for discoveries in many different places. We look at discoveries about the brand, we look at discoveries about the company, the staff who work at the company, the product, what the competitors are doing, a gap in the advertising that's out there, all these different things and more. And we can find many interesting places to start by looking more broadly than just the consumer. And if I think about some of our greatest successes at the agency, they have not been built on consumer insight. The HSBC campaign, for example, the building of that brand, the world's local bank, was an insight, or a discovery rather, about the company and where it exists and what its internal philosophy is at HSBC. It's not a discovery about consumers, and that's fine. A more recent example, the Baileys work, which many of you hopefully have seen now with the lips. That was a discovery about the product, the intense lusciousness and sensuality of that product. Again, it's not a discovery about consumers. And both these examples have led to some very famous and very effective and award-winning work. And these are useful to have in our minds when we hear people say, where's the consumer insight? And we can remind ourselves that what we're doing is building brands off discoveries in many different places and from a basis of planning that brings value at lots of points in the process.